All right, so we'll officially go ahead and get started. So this is part, aside from those of you who are here for my mythology class, this is officially a co-curricular event for CoyoteCon2026. This is the 5th year CoyoteCon has happened. After COVID, we started having CGC's own version of Comic-Con, where we have everything from superheroes and villains, cosplay dress-up days, and usually a bunch of D&D workshops or tabletop gaming workshops or writing story, children's books. We've had all kinds of workshops in the past. Some of those were recorded and on my YouTube channel, the ones that I did. But the school and the library, specifically faculty and administration, have supported CoyoteCon as something to fill with fun learning. So today, we're going to be engaging in mapping mythology and talking about some of the mashup between geology and mythology. And so we'll talk about what those things are and where some of the crossover is. For those of you in my mythology class, some of this will be a refresh. If you're in my mythology class, you still should take notes, but you shouldn't stress about it. Just make sure you take down the important things. If you're someone who usually doesn't take a lot of notes, make sure you can prove that you're active and present here today. For what it's worth. For those of you who aren't in my class, congratulations. You don't have to take notes except the ones you really want to take.
All right, let me get my note down on my phone.
Yes. Okay. With that.
Superhero? Villain.
Oh, that's messed up. So just for some background, and I might step over here from time to time just to make sure my camera doesn't do something weird. I am recording it. If you need to go back and listen or you like it, it'll be on my YouTube channel. So who am I? No, actually, Thomas, who are you?
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you, Greg. He invited me to join him in this. I'm excited. Yes, I am a Lord of the Rings freak, so we'll be diving into that. But I'm lead geoscience faculty here at Chandler Gilbert. So I teach geology, geography, meteorology. And my research involves building virtual field trips. And I'm extremely interested in place-based education. So in place-based education, a place would dictate what you learn. So if I was going to bring you up to the Grand Canyon, instead of having a semester-long classes, the place would dictate that you need to know about stratigraphy, fossils, life, things like that. And one of the things that Greg and I share in common is a learning outcome of place-based education is a concept called sense of place. And your sense of place is the intellectual and emotional connections you form to a place. And they can be positive or negative. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. I get all giddy when I talk about my hometown city. So I have a very positive sense of place to Buffalo, New York. I hate going to the dentist, so I have a negative sense of place to a dentist chair. But as sense of place increases, it impacts your cognitive skills, so your knowledge base you can learn. It can influence your behavior, and it can influence your attitude. So that's kind of an overview of my research, and I have a research lab here. We build virtual field trips and digital learning environments, and I have majors from geoscience to art to computer hackers to education. If you're interested in that, feel free to talk to me after. It's open to anyone. But Greg, thanks again for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here.
It'll be a fun mashup. Write down whatever you need to, but like we talked about before. I am Greg. I do Dr. Greg Fields. My PhD is in writing, rhetorics, and literacies. My master's and bachelor's is in literature and writing. I do spell it with 2 G's like egg because I'm a little scrambled. But no matter what, I try and be sunny side up. With that, I teach mythology, English 101, 102, technical writing, and then here at CGC, and then I teach graduate courses on second language acquisition and TESOL methods and that stuff for people in master's and PhD programs. I am a learning communities coordinator, so I mash up courses like this regularly, and I am also an avid Tolkien fan. Some of the things, some of the reasons for looking at, well, actually, I'll just say, what we talk about today, we have about an hour, and maybe a little more than an hour. So we're going to do a really fast version of this. If there are things that you're like, man, I wish they would have spent more time on that, make a note of those things especially, because Tom and I basically realized we could nerd out for hours, so we might end up doing like a podcast series over the summer or something. But if you say you want more of something, that gives us a priority. With that, let's see, not there yet, right? Not yet. Okay, so we have some basic things we want to introduce to you first. So let me just talk, so mythology, for those in my mythology class, what's mythology?
Study of different cultures, culture.
Yeah. So it's basically how we study powerful stories, mythos and cultural stories. So stories that have large impact on a cultural level or staying power. So in mythology, we study something called mythos, and that's in contrast to some of the other writing classes you might take, veritas. So we have mythos, which is the power of story, and veritas, which is the power of truth. So if you've been in English 101 or 102, we have you focusing on arguments and logic and reasoning. Mythos isn't about whether it makes sense in actuality with data all the time. Mythos is someone believed this enough to have it change their behavior, and not just one person, but a bunch of people. Does that make sense for everybody? Raise your hand if that sort of makes sense. Okay. Does anybody have a belief that they know they couldn't prove, but they definitely, like, at their core, right? Cane sauce is the best, or something like that. Hot take. Yeah. You don't have to share it, though, right now, in this moment. But yeah, so mythos is the power of story. When we talk about the study of mythology, we're engaging with powerful stories that affect us, that affect our families, that affect major people groups or cultures across the world in all stages of time and space. And so some of that does get geolocated. With that, when we are looking at, actually, why don't you do geology first, and then we'll do ethnography kind of together.
Well, let's lump geology and geography and call it geoscience. At its core, it's the study of the Earth. Geologists tend to think of themselves as studying the surface and below, where geographers tend to think of themselves studying the surface and above. So where you will do an extremely deep dive in geology on rocks and structures and the processes below the Earth, in geography, you will deal more with, and this is specific to Chandler Gilbert, we are in physical geography. You will deal a lot with the weather and the atmosphere, and then you will also do some things on the surface and just below. So geoscience is the study of Earth. And needless to say, in both of those disciplines, maps play a tremendously important role. And we're going to marry those two today.
Yeah. So we have mythology, we have geology, and then anytime we're dealing with people, which is where the mashup between GeoMyth with GeoMyths happens, we're doing something called ethnography or ethnography. So it's the study of cultures, right? Does that make sense? And so ethno, like ethnic or ethnicity, ethnos, and that's culture. So when we are doing ethnographies, we are studying people, often in their normal habitats. It's the kind of thing that anybody ever heard of like stories, people going to third world countries, finding tribal peoples in the jungle, something like that. Raise your hand if you've had something like that in your life. So those people would be anthropologists studying a particular culture or people group. They're considered ethnographers. And so they do ethnography, which is a research type. Now, when we do ethnography based on place, based on climate, based on some of those things, it's called ethnogeology.
I consider myself an ethnogeologist. So
that word.
I am very interested how the natural and cultural landscape come together. In my work, they are inseparable. The natural landscape influences the cultural landscape, and the cultural landscape adapts to the natural landscape. And where those two come together, I find very interesting. So that's ethnogeology.
Okay. Only a little. What do you got?
Ethnogeology is the study of landscapes.
And its impact on people. The ethno has people in it, and then geo is the landscape or the physical space. Yeah. Cool. With that, so before we start deep diving too far into different terms and that sort of thing. I'll give you one other lens. Actually, no. Before we do that, we want to talk. We'll give you the example of Tolkien and Middle Earth, and then we'll add a few more layers to our analysis. So you get to talk about Tolkien.
I get to talk about Tolkien. All right. So how many people are familiar with Lord of the Rings? All right. Books, movies, both. Both.
Circus narrated the book.
Yes, he did an excellent job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I read between the summer of 5th and 6th grade, I read The Lord of the Rings cover to cover. First day of 6th grade, I walked into class with a bright yellow button that read Frodo Lives. I shared that story with my wife, and her response was, I know why you were available when I came along. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. She grew up in Los Angeles, if that helps you at all. I don't know if you've ever thought about The Lord of the Rings in terms of the natural landscape and the relationship between geology and what's going on. So that's what I want to talk about. I've got slides for all the major places. I'm going to spend a minute on the Shire and a minute on Mordor, and you're going to be so disappointed how quickly I go through the other ones. But we have a lot to cover, and this is the kind of feedback Greg's looking for if you want us to do a deep dive. But first, Tolkien didn't know it, but he was an ethnogeologist. How did he start? He literally developed all of the languages for all of the different characters in The Lord of the Ring. He created those languages. He then built the world around those languages. So he was marrying the world that he built, the natural landscape, with the languages and the cultural landscape. So for him, those two things were inseparable. The term wasn't around then, ethnogeologist, but he literally was an ethnogeologist before his time. And the takeaway is, geology shapes the people suit the geology. And that's what I want to show you here. So let's talk about the Shire for a minute. You're all familiar with the Shire, gentle rolling hills, river valleys. You have a question?
No, I just got to because I recognize that house.
Yeah. And remember, and I think you're going to find this, and we're going to do an exercise on this, a lot of these places are based on actual places in the world. So Tolkien modeled a lot of these landscapes over things that he knew personally. So the English Midlands, what he was very familiar with, look very much like the Shire. So he could not separate his knowledge of the natural landscape, and he incorporated it into the books. But just think about it. Gentle rolling hills, valleys, deep soil, and what are the hobbits like? They have big feet, they're stout, they're simple, they love the earth, they're farmers.
They like food a lot.
They do like food a lot. And they live in a perfect place to grow it. So listen, this isn't rocket science, but once you start thinking about it, the place and the people in the place, they adapt and they make sense. They go together. I don't want to go too much deeper than that because we want to get to have you think about some things. I just want to tell you that if you study or think about this kind of relationship in any of the major places, you will find that the geology dictates the behavior of the people that are there. Rivendell, tranquil, secluded, and safe. Think about what you know about the elves. They don't want conflict. They're quiet, they're reserved, they're intellectual. The place matches the people. Mines of Moria. Yes? Yes.
So if we look at different types of elves in Middle Earth, we have the elves of Lothlorien, where with Galadriel.
Yeah,
We have the elves of the where Legolas is from, which is a little bit darker. Yeah, so that's what he's saying. So
Yeah.
there are actually different types of elves, but for the sake of fast, are you laughing at us because we're nerding out? This is what this is. This is a nerd's moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So yes, so there are different kinds of elves, and that's actually a meaningful thing. That's what
Yep.
Tom's telling us, is there are three major communities of elves in Middle Earth, and each of them are slightly different and have different characteristics because their culture is mirroring the type of environment they're in. Rivendell is closer to rock. The Lothlorien is past the mountains, up in large trees, and then the Black Forest. Why do I feel like I'm mixing that up? But the forest depicted in the Hobbit movies, for instance, has a little bit of a darkness over it, and their leader kind of represents that in the movies, at least. So yeah.
Don't they also hate each other? I'm pretty sure they do.
Do we need to watch Lord of the
Let's. You could, but we're not going to do it. You could always do that as a Monday Myth or a Friday Myth mashup for my class. But for the sake of moving
You're
forward,
right.
just recognize that the place signifies some things, can be used to signify some things about the people, because the place can dictate beliefs and cultures and back and forth.
What we're glossing over, because we just don't have time, but Greg and I could spend a month on this alone. The languages that Tolkien created also match the place and the people, where what the dwarves speak is very hard, and it sounds and feels like a rock, and it's guttural compared to the simplicity of the Hobbit's dialect. And you can go and look at what each one of them, the languages that he married with the people and the landscape they inhabit, and they're all related. So let me just go through this, but Mines of Moria, I mean, if you're in one of my geology classes, you got igneous and metamorphic rock, you got giant faults that dictate where the chasms are down there. You will not pass. I mean, that's a fault in that you've studied in one of my classes.
Wait, that's a fault.
It's along a fault. Rohan, he modeled this after, think about the Great Plains in our country. The indigenous people rode horses. There's no choice but the people of Rohan to be the riders. It's all grassland. So everything is connected and married. Same with Minas Tirith. Probably limestone, big white city, carved. Everything comes together. The main message is geology shapes people, people suit their geology. But what if that's not the case? Sometimes geology inhibits civilization. So think about Mordor.
Like volcanoes?
Yes, yes. Mount Doom. For my geology, it's a stratovolcano. When you did that Google Earth and you wanted to hit me because I made you tell me what all the different kinds of volcanoes are. But it's lava, it's foreboding. It's the only place the ring could be forged and the only place it could be destroyed. And who are there? Orcs. And they're specifically bred for that one place. No, nothing else can go there. So there are times when geology can inhibit and not have this wonderful relationship between nature and culture. Yes?
You also, as we see, that place Mordor was built, it could not have a civilization there that just rises. It had to be forcefully built up.
That's correct.
not
That's correct.
integrated.
And for those of us nerds out here, the orcs are also twisted, fallen elves, in the same way that the landscape, having undergone a cataclysmic ash, would be the same for a forest.
Yes?
I think there's also Isengard. It's kind of like the geological thing, because it was a big forest in the first movie, and then the second one, boom, no forest. They were breeding orcs.
Yep.
Big ones.
Yep.
Nasty ones.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think, do I have one more slide? I do. I just want you to think about Tolkien's real world analogs. I mentioned to you that the places he created, they're all based on places that he either saw or was familiar with. The Shire is the English Midlands. Rivendell, Alpine Hanging Valley. Misty Mountains, the Alps and the Himalayas. He saw those. Moria, South African deep mines. Rohan, the Great Plains, either in the US or Central Asia. Minas Tirith, Edinburgh Castle. Mordor, Iceland highlands or lava fields. So he took inspiration from the real natural landscape and used that to create his world. And one of the things at this point, Greg and I thought might be interesting, is for you to give some thought to your favorite mythology / and or fantasy. Think about some of the characters, heroes, villains. How do they match up with the landscape that they're in whatever mythology or fantasy? So I don't know if you want them to shout out answers, talk for a few minutes, but that was something we wanted you to think about. I'm sure if you're a Game of Thrones or something else, you can think about the natural landscape and the culture that's there.
So, yeah. So, turn to a couple people around you and answer that question. Where can you recognize in your favorite stories, movies, fantasy, sci-fi, where can you recognize worlds built with some echo of everyday Earth? Talk with 2 or 3 people around you.
I think of one place, Han from Star Wars.
This is then yours until you want me to talk about the Strait of Hormuz.
What's it? Okay, so let's see.
And what time do you want to get them back?
We have till 7:15. We're doing
Okay,
so. We're
okay,
doing
we're
fine
doing
on
good.
time. All we
Okay.
skipped was this question basically, and I can end those, which I'm not
Okay.
sure I need to do now that
All
I think
right,
about it. So they're working on that, talking that for a minute. So our next one is geology, story, world. So I'll start
you'll
here.
do D&D, and I'll jump in if you need any help
Yeah,
with
yeah.
geology, but that's your
And then we'll yeah.
Okay,
Cool, cool,
perfect. Beautiful.
Cool. We're pacing well. So what is one place you see an echo of? Because you're noting. So Joseph, what did you have in mind?
I was thinking one place, I already thought of Paul, but I was thinking of the Sword Coast.
Yeah.
In D&D. It's near the coastline. A lot of people have fish there.
Let me know if I say or do anything stupid. I've never done this before. Let me know if I say or do anything stupid. Give me a hand signal or something. Knock it off, Tom.
I've seen in real life, you know, Europe, like where England was, or even back when the 13th colony were a thing, people were easily getting like stuff delivered to the 13th colony because they were just going up and down the ocean way.
Yeah. Good. Let's.
You can't buy this kind of discussion.
No, it's great. Let's skip on. Can I get 2 volunteers just to hold a map up for us?
Volunteer.
Okay, and then Theodore or Madison, either one of you guys. Okay, so gently. Let me see if I can get it to follow
It's
me.
upside down. Hold on.
Is it gonna move?
Here.
I
Take
tried
that
too hard.
side.
Okay. I can't tell if it is. All right. So, for those of you less familiar with Middle Earth, here's the big map here. So we talked about a few of these things. What do we have? Rohan, Lothlorien we talked about, the Mines of Moria. Where is, you probably can recognize it better than I can. Where's the Shire's all the way over here. So where's the scary place? It's in the bottom right quarter, the Mountains of Shadow. You can even see the kind of physical barrier that happened there. The Shire is so far away from those that it's basically one step away from the portal to the Grey Havens. They're what's called the Grey Havens, the portal to where they all the elves leave on ships to basically go to their heavenly place. So when we're learning about Frodo and Bilbo traveling far places, They're going all the way from this nice little pretty place, protected by isolation a little bit, because the hobbits stay to themselves. They've got these rolling hills. People can kind of go around them. There is I'm trying to find the city I'm looking for. Where's Bree? So Bree is kind of a core city outside the Shire where people mix. And then like men and other and elves and dwarves go around them to other places. They don't go through the Shire. And then all of this is a bit more of a wasteland. There's not a lot to eat, we're told in Fellowship of the Ring. Strider or Aragorn has to take them through well-known paths and because he knows the region well enough, he knows where to find food and where to shelter where they won't be seen. But that creates a natural barrier too. Okay, so you guys can curl that up. I just wanted to tag to it.
If you're having a thought experiment as you're driving home, what would that map look like if the orcs would have drawn it?
The orcs would probably put more emphasis on the areas where they were growing up compared to what this map did, because like they grew up like around the danger area, right? So like there'll probably be like more detail and geography around there, because like on that map, like we do have like the base locations, but it's more so like walled off with mountains. That's like the most where most of the detail is. But like with the orcs, it'll probably be like the inside is gonna be like way more detailed.
Yeah.
And, like the foreground, like the outside map is gonna be like a few mountains and grass.
Yep.
Probably not gonna have areas named out, because I don't think the orcs go all the way to the Shire or like the Heavenly Gate.
The big takeaway is maps are intentional. The map maker decides what gets included, but as importantly, what gets excluded. So maps are very intentional.
Yeah. So actually do this. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. So you guys thought about some of the crossover you're seeing. Just take 30 seconds to a minute and on a piece of paper, try and draw a map from here to your house. I'm keeping it simple. 30 seconds to a minute. Like you're giving someone directions to your house. That's all you're doing, right? Just in your notes or on a piece of paper.
This is your dream.
Write it on your palm.
Can't do it, Tom.
On-demand
I have to
mapping.
finish the note.
On-demand mapping. This is your dream.
I can do it.
You can use your finger to draw on your
No, you
palm if you don't have a writing implement or anything. Is it trying to follow me? It is. Okay, cool. I'm going to get it to lock.
My map will be long.
Maybe that'll lock it. Okay, I think I'm understanding it now. Yeah, you do what you can. You can always scribble in the air, like that's always an option. It still counts as a visual representation. Figured out. I can get it to follow me, and then I can get it to stop following me.
Okay.
So I was like, how do I get it? And it wasn't working. So I get it now. New technology. Experiments as they are. Okay. Now, as you're drawing this, what are the things you made sure to include on the map? Just shout them out. Theodore? Traffic lights. House. Thanks. Roads, road names, right? What else? Highways, like major visible things. What else? I can't with you, Elizabeth. I can't. Matt? The start and the end, right? Yeah. Did anybody draw a picture of like a McDonald's arch or anything like that? Like some sort of visual depiction of major... Yeah, I know. I didn't give you guys time. So one of the things we want to be aware of is, one, sometimes maps are comprehensive. If the cartographer doesn't know what the person's going to need. And then sometimes we have different types of maps based on a key rhetorical principle. If you think of maps as texts that are trying to communicate with you, you're going to better understand what they're there for. If you've learned in English 101 or 102 about rhetorical purpose, and you see maps as a rhetorical text, the creator of the map is trying to communicate something. There's core messages, there's something they're wanting to emphasize. The way they've built the map and what kind of filters they may have used to indicate different parts of it, all of those are going to have embedded ideology behind them. And so, or embedded understandings of need or purpose, right? So when I go to Google Maps, one of the things I do regularly is fast food near me, or restaurants near me, or coffee shops near me, and then it changes the map, right? Now that's that's a very interactive situation, and maps didn't always have that, right? But when we're thinking of maps as a rhetorical text, we want to be thinking, what's the purpose of the map? What was the need of the person looking at it? And sometimes they're stylized based on that purpose. So we can look at some of the things Tom's been highlighting. And Tom basically did what my class knows as the PERMS model. Mythology students, in the PERMS model, it's P-E-R-M-S. You can also put the S at the top and make it awkward, but we're not going to do that. So what's the P stand for? What's the E stand for? What's the R stand for?
Religion.
What's the M stand for? And what's the S stand for? Social. Okay. So anytime we're looking at any text, any rhetorical text, we can do a cultural analysis. When we're doing ethnography, we can do a cultural analysis and look at how those systems play out. If you look at the maps of Middle-earth, we can see, based on some of the ways it's built, some of the symbols and whatnot, core political entities or political locations. We can see core economic hubs. We can visualize in that specific genre those cultural elements. Right? And then we also can see the various geological influences on those. The things that allow for military presence also inhibit military presence, right? So if you're able to have military control over an area because there's a wall of mountains that people have to get through, it's a naturally defensible space, right? If we look at the culture of the Great Plains, and what's the one you had both of them listed. Central Asian steppe, that sort of thing.
Yep.
So anybody know anything major about the older cultures, the ones who have been there the longest, what they are more well known for? Militarily, what was their military style in the Great Plains pre-US?
Horses.
Native Americans with horses who traveled far distances, right? Long, wide open spaces, right? Same thing with, gosh, I had it. The guy, they had bows. Thank you. I'm like, my brain, there's so much, it takes a while to retrieve, and my students know how fun this can be for me. But yeah, so Genghis Khan, his whole culture is known for the same thing. When you have long plains, you have a lot more use for cavalry or horses long distance. Same thing when we saw the Riders of Rohan. They have large open spaces. So we want to be thinking about what the needs of the culture are, what the purpose of that is, and then we also have this fun side thing. So that's when we're looking at maps that already exist. But part of this is also, I know some people in the mythology class, and part of doing this for CoyoteCon is saying, but what if I want to build my own map for my own world? And so there's a part of this that I'd like to shift for a few minutes, and let's build some maps together, or talk about some strategies for it, at least. So there are some strategies used for D&D map building, map making. Everybody can stand up for this one. It's probably going to be easier in the long run. Plus, you've been sitting for a while. Assume that you can take notes unless you're actively engaged. Okay, so just get where you can sort of see. You don't have to crowd around, but you might need to stand up. If you're a wide-shouldered person, I'd assume like myself, but then that's speaking too nicely of me. Make sure you can see from there. Those are my props. You can have one. So if you want to, actually, I'll do this and then I'll pass the candy around. So if you're trying to build your own map, first, who here likes stories that have things with intention? Like you want to know that the writer definitely made a good, like an intentional decision to incorporate that thing there, right? Who here's played D&D or tabletop gaming in the room? Who here likes when their DM works in part of their backstory? That's kind of what we're talking about. Okay, so who here likes
You're a rebel.
rolling on randomly generated tables to come up with stories? Okay. Who here writes creative stories? Who here writes creative stories and randomly rolls generated stuff? Okay, so there's a reason I'm asking this. Sometimes the purpose and the need determine the strategy, okay? And sometimes if you're trying to build a world, you just have to build it. And so this is a chicken or egg question. When we talk about mythology, it has to appear intentional at the end. So if you've been in English 101 or 102 class, this is the writing process. The reader doesn't see it until it's there. So as long as you can make it make sense by the end, it doesn't matter how you came up with it. And sometimes we can get analysis paralysis emphasizing every single mountain that we play. So instead, you're like, I want to generate a fantasy world, and I'm going to try and figure out what it means later. So what we can do is we can get a couple different sets of dice with different colors. So I've got pink, white, and teal in here for sure, and purple. So let's say the white are going to be snowy mountains, the pink are going to be beaches or coastlines, and the teal green ones are going to be bodies of water. Okay, so now, what did I say? So we have, so the white ones are snowy mountains, so I'm just going to draw a point here to indicate that these are high elevation places. Yes, that's okay, because it's all random anyways. It's meant to build quick, right? It's not about exact and purposeful in the beginning, because sometimes the best story is something that's random that you make sense of. How many people have superstitions or know someone who has superstitions about sports or something like that? Okay, they are attributing random events, supposedly, to other completely disconnected happenings. We do it all the time, so why not take advantage of that if we're trying to build our own map? What did I say the pink were going to be? Coastlines? Okay, so we definitely have to have a coastline beach here. So I'm going to let that be an inlet, and then supposedly it's got to connect to other things. What did I say the green or blue were going to be?
You didn't say anything about green, but you said the blue would be ocean.
So I'm going to let this green be a nice little verdant island, and there's going to be a river there. Let's see. Our coastline is going to be this pink here.
What color was the river? He's just making the river up.
Yeah. We're going to let this coastline go all the way over here. And I'm getting to connect the dots.
Mountains near the beaches, so this island's definitely going to be
So
very cold.
remember, it doesn't have to make sense at first. What did I say the greens and blues were going to be? Bodies of water? Okay, so I don't have a coastline here, so I need a coastline in here somewhere. So there's becomes not quite a peninsula. Don't judge me, I'm making it up as I go, and that's the whole point.
Have a snowy mountain
Everybody
right
say
next to
he's
the
making
beach.
it up as he goes, people. I didn't need affirmation. I mean, thank you. So I used the blue to indicate the edge of water. So this is water. This is all water now. I've created this. I probably should have done green, but too late. So that's the water, and then we've got...
He's doing what he's doing.
So all this stuff, we can add green to let this be a few more forests. Again, I'm making it up. We do have some peaks, though, right? And so now we have to go, and we can say that maybe this stuff is far enough away that it is just grassland or trees, or we have to roll more dice. So I have to explain why there are 5 ice-capped, snow-capped mountains right on the edge of the ocean. Those are really tall, right? So maybe this is a better map for something where starships land, because there's just these tall, super spiky things that go like 8,000 feet up or something. Maybe, yeah.
Like being a giant.
So can somebody take a picture and send this to me? Who can I trust? Thanks. So take a picture. It almost looks like a dragon head if you look at it.
Really proud of it.
Okay, now the other thing I can do if I'm using dice is I can look at the numbers and say, depending on how high or low the number is, maybe that's determining elevation. Maybe that's determining the number, the influence, right? A nat 1 on a d20, maybe that's a forsaken one, and I have to now come up with a story for what terrible happened there that makes people avoid it. In the Wheel of Time, there's a city called Shadar Logoth, where a terrible, terrible thing happened in the city. The whole thing is basically covered in a black bubble of evil, right? And so people actively, travelers actively avoid going in there, and there are myths about it. I brought everything but an eraser for this. I guess I have to use my dice bag. So that's one option. I can go make sense of it later. But those are the questions. Now, is it easier to answer questions of why is that Nat 1 an ice-capped mountain than create something from scratch?
That's your brain
Sometimes, yeah. Okay, alternatively, if you're like feeling a little peckish and you want to do the same activity but with better things. Okay, so because of the nature of the color, Micah, you can have the one on the floor or just hand me it. So what I would say is if this, I might do the Land of Mordor here, and the dark red ones are literally lava pits. And the orange ones are spaces where people don't live, but they can travel. So I would let the orange ones be roads, lava that's crusted over. And the yellow ones aren't dangerous. So maybe they're farms. Maybe they're not as dangerous. They're like, it's been 100 years. Yeah, so then I have to explain why. So maybe
they're using the lava to grow food.
so for the same reason we could look at this map and look at the 3D elevation, we could say, okay, for there to be lava right next to, I was going to say the pink are the places you can actually live. So if I'm looking at this, if I've got a lava pit right next to a pink place, how much distance does there have to be between a lava pit and an actual civilized town? Is it a height of 1,000 feet, 500 feet? How close can they live where that would be safe?
Probably like.
We don't know. But but that is how I would build it. Can someone take another picture of this? I'm going to try and explain it
I
later.
was gonna suggest that like it's maybe like instead of it being like an elevation, it's like a beach thing, and it's like the lava's like going across there, and there's like just far enough away.
So that could be it. It could be that the lava stopped or rolled out.
Great.
Yeah.
Here's another thing. Maybe the red spots aren't exactly full of like lava and stuff, but maybe it's like a geothermal area, you know,
like a vent.
Oh, like a vent.
I like that.
Ventilation.
Actually,
So-
that can explain why there's
And
so
maybe
many
the
houses
people
near there. They're
there
just living near the
are
heat.
harnessing that geothermal energy from the volcanic hotspot.
So what happens if we make that sudden change? Does it mess anything up? No, it's fantasy. We're making it up. If it makes for a better story or a more understandable story, well, that's totally fine. Does that make sense? So if you're trying to create worlds or you're trying to understand it, sometimes it makes sense to try and create your own, because that actually can make things more relevant when you read them in history or more relevant when you read them in mythology. With that, you guys are welcome to use the come grab a Haichu fantasy flavor or grab a Starburst before we shift to the next thing. What do you have, Alex?
Is what you said, it's like the lava spots could just be veins?
Like veins of lava or yeah. So I could either make it like a big pool, or I could make it a singular vein and there has to be a certain amount of distance. I could also make it a deep ravine with lava at the bottom, right? Like Grand Canyon style. So how I decide to play that, and then the bigger world thing is, why would there be civilization cut up by so much lava, and why would it still be there? So now I have bigger world questions, and do these large lava breaks. We know that in a lot of places, rivers and water. My mythology class. What's an example of a river being a major part of a culture? Food.
Fishing.
Connected to fishing or food. Someone said the Nile, the Ganges River too, right? So waterways become really meaningful because of life. They also become meaningful land boundaries. Have you ever looked at the United States map and seen the Mississippi River and how many states stop on the edge of the Mississippi River? They are natural barriers. For the same reason, I could use that geographic or geological principle and say, I have lava. I have lava rivers. So that creates natural boundaries for military, for potential trade, for culture, because until I get a certain technology advancement or certain resources, I can't cross the lava anymore. Does that make sense? Okay. So those are just a couple ways we can create our own. There's a lot of I have a lot of different samples of D&D maps out there. I'm wondering if we have time for it. 654. So let's do this. So,
Go over and don't go back to your
that's always an option. That's always an option. We're not getting out early. For my class, we're still having our class. So in your notes or on a piece of paper or in conversation with someone, if you had to make a map that represented your travels, your life travels, what would be key places that would have to be there for it to be a true representation? Talk with each other or put in your notes. 2 or 3 key places and things that maybe one geographic feature connected to them before we go on to the next thing. Like, where have you traveled in your life?
Yeah, the beginning.
If you were going to timeline
It seems
travel,
like a year ago,
walk the
doesn't it?
timeline out, what are
Yeah.
key places and what would have to be there to make it clear that that's what that was? Okay, so where are we here? Okay, so we did that. We're mostly through that. I did that the fast way. I was going to do more, but that's what I'm having to do now. So I think we're here. Are you got slides for that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then
think
we'll
I
let
think I may skip
Noelle and
areas
Dakota do the...
Yeah, I think
We got time.
Huh?
It's okay. Do it.
You sure? Yeah. What do you want me to do? Just flip
Just
it
do
upside
what you got.
Well, I didn't do anything.
Oh, okay.
I can bring it up quickly. I was just gonna. I had flipped this straight of Hormuz. I wanted to see if they. Then I wanted to talk to them about the geology and the bottleneck, and have them think about.
Bring Arizona up real quick, and then we'll point to these. But do it where it's a little less recognizable.
You got it.
For people who aren't listening.
Okay.
Keep talking for another 30 seconds with someone near you. Share the story. What are key geographic locations that you had to travel over, that you couldn't travel past? What resources might have limited your travel? Definitely. Let me cover the screen so you can't see.
Greg, you are doing a terrible job.
Aw, thanks. That means I'm slimming down.
However, you are great at speaking, man. Keep at it.
Well, I had to go somewhere. Oh, this is. Okay. It's following me. I gotta get it to stop. I'm gonna see if I can get it to stop over here so that you're on the screen. Okay. I'm learning how to use my new present. This was a birthday present, and I don't know if I'm doing it right, but okay, good. It is working. So that's good. Why is that brightness so low? Okay. Okay. And when you're ready. Okay, so what were some of the resources that have inhibited your travel? Joseph?
No.
All right, who here's had travel slowed down or inhibited by mountains? Okay. What other resources or lack thereof or geographic features made it easier or made it harder to travel? Theodore?
Planes make it very easier to travel compared to driving.
Planes, you said? Wait, what did you say?
Planes go faster than driving.
Planes go faster than driving. What does it take a plane more than drive?
Money.
And not being afraid, right? Some of the reasons why people wouldn't get in planes in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, was they were afraid, and still now, but it was more then when it was less familiar. There was actually even religious belief, like you're going against God's law, right? So that's a cultural belief that would have inhibited that type of travel. Yeah, do you have more? What do you got?
Preservation of illnesses, like you can't fly, you have to like eat your pigs with teeth, maybe not, you can't fly, you get the anesthesia in your body.
Yep, good. Dakota, what were you going to say? Snow. Anybody have a snow day and get out of school? In this, not here.
In Buffalo.
Anybody told to stay home because it was 120 out? I actually was teaching a class at ASU. It got over 121. They canceled classes in 2016, 2015. I was teaching in the summer. It got 121, 122 degrees, and they canceled my afternoon class. And I'm like, but I'm already here. Yeah. Yes.
I would say, has a blizzard ever stopped someone from traveling?
There's a family story. I think I've been... All right, so meaningful learning moment as a husband. When your wife says at 9 o'clock, hey, the weather report says that it's probably going to be hard to drive through that part of New Mexico. Stop. Don't keep going and then get stuck in some random city at 2 in the morning and not be allowed back on the highway because snow stops travel, especially when the authorities put barriers up. They'll let you get off the highway, but they won't let you get on. Suffice to say, that was one of the larger husband fails I've ever had. Thank you for being here.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
While we're on husband fails, Greg taught you a lesson earlier that you might have missed.
Just the one.
But just if you are in a setting like this and your spouse is seated, The thing you might not want to admit is that your number one use of Google Maps is searching for fast food restaurants.
I'm just trying to feed the family.
I'm just saying, all right?
She didn't object to that. And when it's fast food, it's like Salad and Go or Panera. Anyways,
Blizzard of 77, Buffalo, New York, 8th grade. Schools closed for 17 days. Yeah. City was buried.
I had a
Yeah.
few days in Texas and Oklahoma, but not many.
Yeah. Yes.
I've already been seeing videos about some crazy weather phenomenon.
Yeah, crazy. My mom's actually, my nieces and nephews couldn't go to school today because in Missouri, there's a power outage in their area from tornadoes. What were you going to say, Ethan? Okay, go for it. You took too long. Florida.
Hurricanes.
Hurricanes in Florida. Go for it.
Road conditions.
Yeah, just general.
I went to New Mexico where we were towing a trailer. Road conditions was so bad, it ripped the bike rack off the back of it, clean off. Ripped it.
So for you to be able to travel, one, there has to be some sort of road. Otherwise, you're a trailblazer. And I have a whole philosophical understanding of trailblazing I don't have time to talk to right now. But you had to have the equipment and it had to work, right? We're talking Oregon Trail style. What stops you? Apparently dysentery, too. Washes flooding out, yeah. Good. Okay, we'll move on. So, make these things we're talking about as much real as they are fantasy, because we're bridging these worlds, right? We're going from mythology to geology, which means we're talking about powerful stories that don't have to be true, but might be true, and in the possibly up into the fantasy realm. And then we're talking about very real scientific principles of geology, geography, and ethnography. So keep it in mind. With that, go for it, Thomas. What do we got here? What is this thing?
Where are we?
That doesn't seem like it's pointing in the right direction.
36 degrees north.
It looks like a vein.
What makes you say it's the Grand Canyon?
But it's a giant crater.
Because we've seen the Grand Canyon before.
Giant.
But it wasn't facing the hook was the wrong direction. I didn't know what the Grand Canyon. Okay. All right, he gave you an easy one. Fine.
I showed this to Greg. He didn't recognize it.
I'm from.
And was convinced none of you would
I learned
recognize
about
it, and he made me
Oklahoma
do
and
this.
Texas geography and the Trail of Tears. I didn't learn about what the Grand Canyon looks like from space.
Neither did I. I'm from Oregon.
But yeah, no, I would have a hard time. Yes.
That's what the Grand Canyon.
Anyway, continue.
Thank you.
Are you gonna do a reveal, or are you just gonna?
No, we're just going to talk.
Okay.
Hey, it's the area that's about to form a new ocean.
Well, that's true. Red Sea. We'll give you a little. What do you got happening here? Two tectonic plates diverging. You're going to get a new ocean. That's not what I want to talk about, though.
All right. So, what do you want to talk about, Tom?
What is this? Strait of Hormuz.
Hey,
So
Tom.
let's talk about this. Let's talk about real geology and how it impacts geopolitics.
Hold up your right hand toward the camera. Ah, it didn't follow. Hold on. Let's get it to follow me so that he can take it over. Okay, hold up your right hand like this.
Okay.
Okay. I just didn't want you to be out of camera. No.
Let's talk about the current U.S.-Iran conflict and how geography impacts politics. Okay? So we've been talking about real world and mythology. Let's dive into the real world. Strait of Hormuz, Iran, mountain range. That distance is about 21 miles.
It's a pretty small distance for a big body of water.
All of the oil is over here. It's not just oil. The Middle East produces almost 45% of the world's pesticides. it is planting season in the United States. You have farmers that have either ordered and it's en route, but because now it's so scarce, the people they bought it from are no longer honoring those prices and quadrupling them, or it's stuck here. You are about to see a crisis in agriculture in America because our farmers are not going to have pesticides. Which, shame on them, we should be doing regenerative farming anyway, but that's another talk. Let's break this 21 miles down even further. There are only 2 very narrow channels that are deep enough for ships to go through. One is this way, one is that way. 21 miles, each of those 2 channels are 2 miles wide. That's the navigable region for the Strait of Hormuz. If you are Iran, you can sit there with your $20,000 war drones and you can threaten any ship. They do not care about anybody coming in. They're not bringing anything. They just don't want any oil or pesticides to get out. So from that island or those mountains, they need to patrol a 2-mile strip. You can sit there with your $20,000 drone, which they have done, and you have hundreds of ships with oil just sitting here and they're not moving. And that's why your gas is $5 a gallon right now. Defend those 2 miles. What is our response? We try to shoot down those $20,000 drones with a multi-million-dollar Tomahawk missile. The world is currently a little upside down. My point is, geology, geography, topography, they matter. They're important in the world. We study this for a reason, and the geology of this region impacts global geopolitics, and the land is currently dictating the situation that we're in. So I think an interesting thought exercise that Greg and I talked about is linking this real world scenario. Are there places in your favorite mythology or fantasy where you have the landscape either hindering or assisting whatever quest, mission, or big thing is going on in your world? I think it's interesting to think about.
If we're just thinking Lord of the Rings, what are the ways they have to get past the first range of mountains?
Isn't it the first range of mountains? Yeah, what's it called?
Like when the Fellowship leaves Rivendell, it travels and there's some mountains.
It's a snowy area.
What is it?
The Snowy Mountains
The
or the Mines of Moria.
So we've got the Snowy Mountains. We can go over the mountain, or we can go through the Mines of Moria, or we can go all the way down below through Rohan. So they have 3 paths they can take, which is like if you're a writer, it limits your choices. If it's the real world, you have constraints on what you can do. Did you have power?
Nah, we probably just fell
Did
asleep.
it die?
No,
Oh,
we
good.
just fell
Okay.
asleep.
So then what happens to limit, what happens to limit one of their options? What is it? You said the mountains came to life?
I think you're thinking of the Hobbit.
Oh, in The Hobbit, yes. That happened for The Hobbit, yes.
Saruman was causing the avalanches in the mountains, so they can't go that way.
So we had a major world leader using his special powers and his powerful words to create geological catastrophes like blizzards. Saruman used magic to go boom, and all the snow fell and blocked the thing, basically.
The travel up the mountain can be like very steep and hard to traverse.
Yeah, and then Saruman made it worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have one, Tegan? Oh. Okay. Okay. So yeah,
Dangerous
so that's
place
the
to
thing to think
stretch.
about. All right. So Thomas, what else? Do you have more?
I mean, I could go on about the planet forever and talk about geology.
So we'll do an easy one before we step into like the technologies of geomapping. What does this make you think about?
This makes me think about how you can like use landscape and like terrain to like sort of like pull your characters towards like a certain direction in the story.
Good, thank you, Daniel. Who else? What else does this make you think about? We've got the Strait of Hormuz option. We've got the Gandalf option.
Looking at a map, I always picture the Skyrim 5 map as well.
Say it louder.
The Skyrim 5 map,
Yeah.
because it actually like, gives you like, unlike most games where it's just like a map, this one gives you like the actual map and it's like shows you like the color of those areas,
Yeah.
the locations of different towns, cities that you go, and the places you don't want to go.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a body of water there, the most natural defense system ever.
Yep.
Outside of mountains, a big ocean area can easily help defend anything.
Yes. Yeah. Large rivers. Even in the Fellowship of the Ring, like chapter 3 or 4, one of the things that stops the Nazgul from chasing Frodo through the Shire, or after, is there's a ferry, and they have to go 20 miles out of the way to get to a crossing. So that becomes a meaningful thing. All right. So keep thinking about that. Think about how these things might have, how these sorts of principles might affect your daily life. But to kind of create the crossover here, Dakota from my mythology class and Noella from Tom's geology class. They're both, in case you didn't know, they're both on the Council of Presidents for the D&D Club, in case you didn't know that. But they also put together a series of slides to say, is it fantasy or is it real maps? Or is it just real life? Okay, so can we go back to the slides?
Can I have 30 seconds?
Yeah, what do you got? Say it. Yeah, go for it.
I'm counting.
If you're creating a world, let me plant a seed. And let's continue talking just for a minute. Real world analogies. We've talked about how they are applied to mythology. Let's talk about how they're applied to other worlds, literally. We've talked a lot about lava today. Has anybody been up to the Lava River Cave in Flagstaff? Okay. So if you haven't, what happened? Arizona, ton of volcanism 10 to 20 million years ago. Picture a volcanic flow on the surface. Magma underground, as soon as you hit the surface, you are lava. You have a lava flow going across the land. Big mounds of lava flowing. The top of that lava, exposed to cooler air, exposed to the elements, it starts cooling way faster than what's flowing inside. You get a brittle outer core. Eventually, that pulse of magma stops, empties out, and you are left with a lava tube cave. Why am I telling you this? We study lava tube caves on Earth because if you are fascinated or interested about the idea of going to Mars, lava tube caves on Mars are probably one of the first places we're going to have to settle. We currently do not have an answer for the radiation that's happening on Mars. Mars has no atmosphere. Mars has no magnetic field. These are things that Earth have. We are using an analog on Earth to study and project where we will be on Mars. The only thing that can protect you from that UV radiation, we don't have the fabrics yet to wander on the surface for longer than a few hours. We do not have the materials to make a ship to protect our astronauts from the ultraviolet radiation between here, once you're outside of our planet's magnetic sphere. What would protect you on Mars is 100 feet of rock between you and the underground cave that you live in. So geology, geography, it dictates so many things. And you can map it to mythology, you can map it to other places. So I'll give myself a pitch. You should really take a geology or geography course here. You will, in your lifetime, I promise you, you will be asked, as taxpayers, as citizens, to make decisions on whether or not the country should spend the money to save the city of New Orleans or the city of Manhattan, because the oceans are going to rise and we're either going to have to build walls or relocate those whole places. Geologic literacy can inform you in your personal life, your fantasy mythological building life, and your exploration to other systems. I'm done. Thank you for listening.
We're not quite finished with them yet, but stay in there, because it's in that same thing. So it should be right next. Okay. So, is it high fantasy or is it just real life? I prefer you guys do this, actually. You don't have to.
I'll go to the next slide.
Do you want to click?
She's going to click.
Dakota talks, Noella clicks. Okay, cool.
Clicker. I was just going to stand here.
Cool. It's following me. Okay. But Dakota, you have to do the hand thing at the camera. Otherwise, so yes, you have. Just. It won't follow you though.
Hide with me at this corner.
Just.
I'm going to stand here and I'll hit the
I'm gonna have to stand right behind you then.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Hit the clicker.
But you can give her the clicker,
Well, yeah.
the actual clicker.
Okay. Is it high fantasy or is it just real life? So we are looking at a map. What is the general consensus?
If you think it's high fantasy, just hold up one finger. If you think it's real life, hold up the whole hand.
Wait, what is it for?
High fantasy, real life. High fantasy, real life. Okay.
It's high fantasy. It is low fantasy, but
Wow.
theme here, Noella.
Judgment.
This is the map.
I didn't make it.
Never pronounced this right. The Panem
Pan Am.
from the Hunger Games would look like, but if you go back to the map so kindly, this is what it would look like within the U.S. and Canada on our current territory standings. So, with its like zonings and everything for each district.
Okay. You guys just really don't
Some
like the
sort of
clicker.
fish or whale.
Okay.
Okay. Is it high fantasy or is it just real life?
High fantasy, real life. High fantasy, real life. Make your vote.
Come on, people. Come in. Come in.
High fantasy, I don't know what that means. Also, I would just like to highlight while you're thinking about this, the USB drive clicker is the closest thing to a magic wand that we have in our culture, but they don't want to use it. That's fine. Okay, so that's a little more it's a little more real life votes, I think.
Okay.
What is it?
Click the slide. It is in fact real life.
1447.
This is a historical map of the world from the year 1447. Thank goodness for my best friend Noella, who willingly gave me this map to help me. I will then say, go ahead.
Next slide.
Next slide, please. Okay. Is it fantasy, high fantasy, or is it just real life? That map might look a little familiar. Okay, yep. Click it. You'll know this answer. It's
Middle Earth.
It's Middle Earth. Okay. Is it high fantasy or is it just real life? The worst quality.
I'm like, I gotta show you guys some strategies for getting good quality pictures from the internet.
This was the best one I could find.
I'm just messing. High fantasy or real life? High fantasy, real life.
Okay.
I realize I'm probably confusing the camera. It's probably like zooming in and zooming out every time I do that.
Yeah, probably. Okay. This is just real life. This was a map from the medieval times during the 1300s of when I was looking a lot of countries like Europe, Asia, and North America.
Cool.
We're going to pretend to ignore the known world in the corner.
It could be the known world of fantasy realm.
True. Is it high fantasy or just real life? Now we're testing knowledge.
That is the Fire Nation right there. That is
Yeah, that is the Fire Nation. I tried, guys. Like the
I'm
slide.
confused now.
That's not the Fire Nation. This is high fantasy. This is a map of the realm from Game of Thrones, which
Very
I don't
cool.
know the name for off the top of my head.
Okay.
Is it just high fantasy?
Hey, look, it's the land of Narnia. That's the real world.
I'm separating myself from this exercise.
Yeah, correct, Mundo. It is in fact high fantasy.
The name Narnia.
Narnia. We're gonna. So now this one, is it just high fantasy or is it just real life?
It is a history book. It has dialogue.
Okay. Okay.
Some of you are abstaining from voting on
Yeah.
all of these.
You got a lot of non-committals here.
It's okay to be wrong. It's just a game, and there are no points. You could just make your best guess.
Okay, go ahead, click along. This is just real life. That was a map of the Scandinavian Peninsula. I can never say.
Peninsula.
During the year of 1530.
What the hell, you don't know your maps of the Scandinavian Peninsula from the 1500s? What's wrong?
I just recognized it.
I had nothing to do with it, just don't blame me.
So I have no clue.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. It's just real life.
The Soviets map the best maps of the moon. What can I
How
say?
unpatriotic to say that. All right. What, did we have more after that, or is that the end of it? Okay. So the last thing, yeah, thank you, Noella and Dakota. Appreciate you. Okay, so the last thing I had on my list of things, that if I'm remembering correctly, let me get back to it. I wanted Tom to talk a little bit about his geomapping technologies. I will tell you, I'll give you my mythology-based ones first. So I will just tell you these, and you can go Google them later for the sake of time. Incarnate, you can build maps and worlds and geolocated items. World Anvil, those are just two of them. For my class, I'm going to give you a whole list later. And then he's going to, but Incarnate, World Anvil, I think there's a Cowboy Rodeo. I'm trying to remember which one it is. Yeah, I know. That's how world building is sometimes, right? So there are some world building for fantasy to keep track of your story and locations and have an interactive display. You can also go A to D&D. But for the real stuff, Thomas, like you said, he does virtual field trips, and his technology makes me nerd out so bad. He can make things go from real life to 3D model to 3D printed and back and all around. So share some of that with us here.
So, Greg asked me to share this so you could think if you wanted to actually create your own mythological world. But I want to show you what I do to recreate actual spaces virtually. And I do this work because for most people, getting into the field is very difficult. Field work by nature is not equitable. There are time constraints, there are physical constraints, there are financial constraints. People have caregiving responsibilities. To ask somebody to get in a van, drive up to the Grand Canyon, and spend an 18-hour up and back day with me is not convenient. So I try to build places virtually so everybody can experience them. But Greg is interested in a lot of the technologies I use. So this is something I did in Monument Valley. And these strips are all based on high-res 360 photos. And you can zoom in and out and move around. One of the things that we do, and if you're interested in building this kind of stuff, you're welcome to come and talk to me about the research lab. But we do a lot of 3D modeling. And I wish I could have brought it. I have developed all of this stuff for computer screens, tablets, smartphones, and VR headsets. A lot of students get dizzy in a VR headset. So for the last decade, I've been experimenting with glasses-free 3D monitors. And I have a big one in my office. And I promise you, if you stop in my office and I show you some of the rocks that my students have developed, if I could have retired if I did everybody's initial reaction and had a YouTube channel, because you will be there going like this and using a lot of swear words, saying, and I will tell you for the gamers, and I'm guessing I have a few, if you've never gamed on a glasses-free 3D monitor, you have no idea what you're missing. My son immediately discovered that Forza 5 is a complete 3D environment, and routinely steals my monitor to drive through the Grand Canyon in 3D. The technology is stunning. But I have a handheld laser scanner. So we can go around, whether it's a rock, we're scanning fossils, we're scanning bones for anthropology. We just hold this $2,000 piece of equipment and we go around and we can build.
That's why the school has it. That's why you take geology and geography classes with Tom. That's why you go on the field trips that aren't directly part of the class.
So we can build 3D objects. You've all seen this. Were you to see this in a headset or on that monitor, it would be in 3 dimensions, and it would be really incredible. Another technology I want to show you that we use to build these worlds. Oh, where?
I'm fighting AI now.
Sorry, I'm working through it. I don't have room for my mouse here. Mesas erode into buttes, erode into spires, erode into a mound of talus, loose dirt. Natural progression of erosion. I'm about, yes?
Have you gone south to the Chiricahuas? This would be incredible.
Have I done what?
To the Chiricahuas?
I have not yet.
So you've given him the next project. Okay.
What's hard to tell from a quarter mile away is that the next spire is starting to form. Another technology we use is gigapans. So I have an automated head. My camera sits on it. I have a 500 millimeter lens. I'm about, maybe an eighth of a mile away where I was. And this photo is called a gigapan because it is quite literally 14 gigabyte big. The picture you take with your phone might be 1 meg, 2 meg condensed. This is about 750 pictures stitched together. So one photo is probably the tip of that spire. What that allows you to do is zoom in with just an amazing amount of resolution. And if you were looking at this on the screen, it's even crisper.
Did you say how far away you were?
About an eighth of a mile, an eighth to a quarter. But what I want to show you is daylight. The next spire has started. And it gets cold enough up in Monument Valley where you'll get rain and snow on that top layer. During the day it melts, drips down. At night it freezes, pushes against the rock. And in thousands of years, that will be its own individual spire. So that's another one of the technologies that we use. Yes, Joe?
How much longer is this gonna go on for?
A few more, well, you can always leave whenever you want, Joseph. That was pretty close to the end.
Oh, okay. But I have school tomorrow and I
Yep.
don't wanna be here the entire time.
Well, you can leave, and you can always look at the recording later on my YouTube channel, because you know where that is, right? We can
Another
talk about it-
technology we
can talk about it
use-
later.
YouTube channel.
We'll talk about it later.
Joe, we'll talk later. All right, let me finish this. Another technology we use is I try to recreate actual places virtually. So we have laser scanners that not a handheld that can do an object, but that can do a scene. So I have a laser scanner that measures distances, creates a mappable, measurable 3D mesh, but also has actual cameras that then lays photos on top of that 3-dimensional mesh. So we are working with our environmental tech center. So we're working my lab, I'm building a virtual field trip of this. This is a laser scan of that. And what the scan lets you do is literally walk through.
Hey, that's that garden outside Chandler.
Yep.
I walk past it every day.
Now, we could overlay photos and videos and maps and whatever we wanted on this. Here's what I need. This program will let me export an object file. There are no workflows for what I want to do. I need some hackers, computer people, that are willing to try to bring this file into Unity or Unreal Engine so that we can walk around and have 6 degrees of freedom. Right now, all I can do is hop from node to node where my scanner was. But I need some people, I need some computer nerds to help me get to that next level. Right now, I'm doing some cool things, I think, but I'm limited to the capabilities of HTML 5.0. Whereas if we could publish a gaming environment to the web, there's so much more we could do. We could put a handle on that tent and open it and see the plants inside. There's so much that we can do.
And what I like is that from a as into games and knowing their impact and thinking about mythology is you can take real world environments, get them with the types of files it's creating and either transform them into 3D printed models you could use for tabletop gaming or geology learning, or you could put it, if you get it into a 3D design animation program, you can actually create video games based off real spaces with the technology that he uses here at the college.
Exactly. And the other thing you can do, if you don't have a laser scanner and you don't want to base your environment on an actual place, well then you can go into a program like Blender or something like that and literally take control and use tools to create your own environment, export that into something that can go into a game engine, and you can literally create your own world. Yeah.
I think I did that when I went to Highland. I did a game. It was some sort of game development class I did. We used Blender to make a game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The stuff's not trivial. Yeah, and for what I do at least, there's just no established workflows. Yeah, go ahead.
What is like the distance it's interactable with? Like if you stood in one place and did your laser shot around the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this isn't going to get the mountains in the background, but let me. There is something that I haven't shown you. You know, I can.
Oh, it burns. That's not the, never mind.
I can, because it's a laser and it's also measuring distances. Oh, it's not doing it. I should be able to just.
Click anywhere to.
All right, let's try one more time.
So this is the ETC garden,
Yeah.
and this is the Earthotomany.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not. I can
Earthotomany.
actually measure
I can't
this.
read.
Like I've scanned the river in Sedona, the creek, and can measure rock units and things like that. So I just wanted to share some of the technologies with you. Yes.
Do you do all this yourself?
Well, this was.
Other people that like are students?
I have a research group on campus of about 10 people. We meet every Wednesday from 4 to 7. It is not a 298 class. They come whenever they can make it. But yeah, we work on these projects together. We do multiple field trips, and we'll go in the field together with the cameras, collect this. So in virtual field production, there's a lot to it. We storyboard and research, then it's content acquisition, then it's production and design, and then we launch and we test and release these things. So I'm waiting to hear on a grant to do a pilot project where we build these for the entire Maricopa system for a geology and geography class. So if anybody's interested in that kind of work, I find it very fulfilling. It's cool. You learn hardware, software, cool cameras, but in the end, you are building digital learning environments that will help your fellow students who cannot get into the field for whatever reason. You are literally leveling the education playing field, and I find that work very meaningful. But that's just kind of a sampling of the technology that we use. So if you're interested in cool technology, from VR headsets to 3D monitors to 360 cameras, I've got it.
Cool. All right, let's thank Thomas for sharing everything he shared about geology. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to go ahead and call it. If you have questions for Tom, flag him down before he finishes packing up. If you need candy, grab it over there. If you're in my class, go over to the room. Meet me there by 7:45 in Bradshaw 129 for Mythology.
like geology, but also this like experience.